Jared, I know we need to break some news here, and I do want to know who the Secretary of Treasury is going to be, but I really want to go to transition minutia. You are lined up, I think, to walk Champ and Major. You're going to be like first dog walker for the Biden administration. What is it like being on a transition team?
I think the most important thing to recognize there is that this is such a critical moment for a smooth, normal transition process to happen. And what's happening right now is anything but normal. Remember, I was the chief economist to the then vice president-elect back in 2008. And at this point, we were actively planning. Remember, that was the Great Recession. We were actively planning for a fiscal relief package that was legislated less than 4 weeks after Obama and Biden took office. That's what should be happening now. But this is not normal, my friends, for this transition to be thrown off this way. And it's coming at great cost in terms of health and in terms of the economy.
Okay, a delicate question then. You know, we make fun of Champ and Major, the dogs returning to the White House with the president-elect. Jared, what's so important here is then what is your action plan if this is transition interrupted? Are you planning out a budget process without the knowledge of the present White House?
Well, certainly we are obviously, and you'll hear the president-elect talking about this, thinking about a fiscal package with great urgency. One of the things he said, and by the way, president-elects, they like to wait till they're in the office to start moving legislation. He has said that is not the case when it comes to fiscal relief. That should happen in the lame duck, and I couldn't agree more. But if you're talking about preparing for this job that he is that the American people have elected him for, you've got to talk about virus control. And that, of course, you can see the president-elect is very active on planning virus control. But, you know, his Vivek Murthy, who's the former Surgeon General on the COVID team, recently talked about how important it is to get that information in transition from folks that are currently in the White House. And that's not happening. Again, avoidable suffering to Americans in terms of health care and economic hardship because this transition is not occurring the way it should.
Jared, we're lucky to have a bit of time with you this morning, so we can talk about the transition a little bit more in just a moment. I want to talk about the fiscal plan just a bit with you. The Republican Senate was the obstacle to getting the deal that Pelosi wanted. We're still likely to have a Republican Senate. We have one now. We'll likely have one after January as well. What is it that you think that President-elect Biden can achieve that Speaker Pelosi couldn't?
Well, I think the way you teed it up is exactly right. I mean, the president-elect continues to talk about how people can decide to cooperate, and now is the perfect time for them to do so. We have heard positive sounds about a fiscal package from members of the Republican squad, including McConnell himself. What we're not seeing is the kinds of negotiations that the president-elect has been stressing, and that needs to happen as of yesterday. You know, we have an unemployment insurance system where over 20 million people are making claims, and at least 12 million, we recently learned, could lose their support as it expires at the end of the year. We have over 400,000 small businesses that have closed. The long-term unemployment is increasing at a rate we haven't seen in the history of that series. We learned this morning that according to ZipRecruiter, job growth is slowing, not just in places where the virus is surging, but in other places as well. So I think the urgency of the economic situation and the health situation, which of course are intimately connected, just has to reach legislators. I'm an economist. I'm not a politician. I can't tell you the strategy to get them there, but I can certainly stress the urgency of this moment in that regard.
Well, let's talk about the urgency and the size, because currently there is a $1.5 trillion spread between the two sides, and I'm not sure how that's closed at all, if it has at all, in the last month. What kind of size package do you need in a moment like this, Jared?
I think probably the best way to think about it is start from the bottom up and start adding up what's necessary. State and local budgets are really hurting. Remember, they can't run budget deficits. The unemployment insurance system, as I mentioned, needs work. Nutritional support has to be on the table. There's lots of people facing potential evictions and foreclosures, so we need those programs to continue and to be re-upped. And of course, virus control is at the top of the list. Now, if you start summing that up, you'll get into the neighborhood of the HEROES Act, which is what the president-elect was touting the other day, and at least the second version of that was somewhere in the 2 to 3 trillion range. But let me say this. I think what matters most right now is speed. So there's speed, there's size, there's composition. They're all important. But I would put speed at the top of the list because I think this economy is at a precarious point.
Jared, can you elaborate on that? If speed is the biggest issue right now, do you think that Democrats should cave to the Republican demand of a smaller bill and just get something, anything passed, even if it's substantially less than what you think is required?
You know, I just don't think cave is the word that anyone should be thinking about up there. It's actually cooperation, working together to serve both the healthcare and economic needs of the American people. And, you know, as the president-elect has stressed, I mean, there are avoidable deaths that could occur if both sides would get together and start cooperating. Now, by the way, you know, Ron Klain, incoming chief of staff, someone who knows a lot about pandemics. He pointed out something the other day that I want to stress. He said, you know, yes, vaccine, that's important. It's essential. But, you know, vaccine without vaccination doesn't get you very far. So along with all this other transition planning that should be happening now, the manufacture and the distribution of the vaccine is essential planning that has to occur. And I don't think anybody needs to cave to each other to get to work on serving the American people in that regard.
Jared, given that there is some sort of bridge right now to try to get us through the next very difficult couple of months, what do you think is necessary when it comes to potential infrastructure spending, which has been something that's been sort of touted out there, and how should we pay for something like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that I focus so much on relief and this fiscal bridge to the other side of the crisis. I don't think we should forget, and certainly the president-elect has an agenda that is extremely, I think, rich and important in this regard. That simply getting to the other side of the crisis back to where we were isn't nearly good enough. We have to, the way he puts it, is build back better. That is, have a far more resilient economy on the other side of the crisis. And resiliency in the case that you're raising has to do with investments in clean energy and infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure, safety net infrastructure, an unemployment insurance system that's up to the task, a healthcare system that's up to the task. And all of those investments, I think, need to be made. Now, in terms of pay-fors, that's a discussion that's going to happen when the president-elect becomes the president. We start those negotiations. I will say that in terms of relief packages right now, it is essential to recognize that interest rates are so low and locked in at such a low rate. So government borrowing, given the return on the kinds of investments I'm talking about, I mean, we can literally save lives at an extremely favorable interest rate. And the idea that Congress isn't acting with urgency to do that right now, I think is just a huge mistake.